Lisa didn't go to the school board. That's where I told my wife.
I've met
Good
Mr. Hutton already. I've not met the others.
Oh, much shorter than you cut that.
Yeah. You're both married, isn't it?
Yeah, she's doing numbers and one might be taller.
Of course, in fourth grade, everybody's different.
Well, I was on the phone last night. No, it's
That's
like,
a good idea. I will
and
take any
then,
and all
like,
suggestions.
I had 2 events on my calendar. That both of them been scheduled for 2 years out. It's like,
Yeah.
and they, but the funny thing was they both happened to fall over the first week. Like, I was glad.
You can give us like 2 minutes. There, good.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
I know.
You guys are good liars.
We have a lot.
Well, I appreciate it. Arnick.
Thank you.
Good.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order this evening, the 24th of September. Everyone would like to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll go ahead and get a roll call started with Commissioner Barber on the right. Barber here. Lavella here.
Weatherford here.
Mater here.
Kimsey here. Limer here.
Gilmore here. We have a quorum present. I'd like to first start off by recognizing the BZA members that are in attendance tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. Are there any items that the commissioners would like to pull from the consent agenda? We do have a quorum present. Not hearing anything, these items are therefore deemed approved by consent. We have new business on the agenda this evening. One item being the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals training. Do we have a presentation by staff?
Yes, we do.
Great.
Hi, I'm Shannon Templeton. I'm the risk coordinator with the city. And what I have tonight is a training video. It's called In the Scope of Your Authority, and it's brought to us originally by Midwest Public Risk, and their attorney, Courtney Kroger with Kuchak Rock. And she had come out to do a presentation, just to kind of let you know what is within the scope of your authority and what is not, and best practices to make you successful in your position. So if you want to start the video, it's pretty
I got a
self-explanatory.
question before we get started. Is this thing, if this is different, what, I gotta turn this on or something? Is this one different? I don't know, I'm just trying to be hard to get along with.
It looks like, looks like yours is off. Yes, I'm not sure on this.
Oh, that's the quarter rate mix. That's the quarter rate
Can we
mix.
just look over his shoulder? I'll do that.
Hopefully it's a power thing.
I say okay.
There you go.
That's good.
Oh, hello, Dan. Congratulations on being elected as a council member.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm real excited about attending my first meeting and being sworn in, although I'm a little nervous.
Nervous? About what? You were elected by a landslide.
Well, there are several things I'd like to accomplish, so I'll be the first to admit I have a lot to learn. I don't want to end up like former Councilman Smith. I want to have a successful term, but I don't want to end up being sued.
Hey, Dan, you'll be joining us tonight.
Hey, Bill.
Hi, I'm Margaret Taylor. I've been a council member here with the city of Cottonwood for 10 years, and mayor for the last 2. During my time with the city, we have made a lot of progress, but also a few mistakes. Certain members of the council have created messy liability situations that have cost the city a great deal of money, hurt our public image, and stalled important projects. And in some situations, elected officials have paid personal liability claims out of their own pockets. The purpose of this video and accompanying handbook is to help you avoid the mistakes that can lead to liability and identify best practices that will allow you to be successful as an elected or appointed official. CIRSA presents In the Scope of Your Authority, Preventing Public Officials' Liability.
That's a lot of good information. Well, thanks, Bill. I'll see you tonight. All right. Oh, Mayor, do you have a few minutes to discuss some of those past mistakes?
Sure, Dan. Come on in. Have a seat.
Thank you.
You referred to Councilmember Patrick Smith. He promised during his campaign he would never allow Megamart to build a store in Cottonwood, and he was pretty vocal about it.
Stay away, Megamart! Stay away, Megamart!
I've had similar opinions about giant retailers, although I haven't been as vocal as Mr. Smith. Where'd he go wrong?
Well, I don't think he ever accepted the fact that as an individual council member, he really didn't have the authority to act on his own. That's why Smith was never able to get anything done. He was pretty vocal about the few issues he was interested in, but rarely worked to build consensus within the council. Dan, pretty much everything we do requires collaboration within the framework of our council. Elected officials can't get anything done as individuals.
I see your point.
So the first lesson is to think and act in terms of we, not I. Apart from a few duties vested in the mayor, the laws that govern our city don't give any powers to individual council members. We've got a diverse council with a lot of different perspectives, and we can only accomplish our goals by working together. Now that you've been elected, your role changes dramatically. You're no longer an outsider promoting your own agenda. You now have to work with your fellow council members to accomplish the city's goals as a collective body.
Let me ask you more about Councilmember Smith. The Megamart deal, it was approved by the council, although by a close vote. What problems did Smith cause?
Remember all of his anti-Megamart statements? When it came time for us to actually hear and act on Megamart's land use application, he should have recused himself.
So he shouldn't have voted.
That's right. He shouldn't have participated in the hearing or voted. Smith had made it well known that he was aligned with the Megamart opponents. When we're acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, such as when deciding on a land use application or liquor license, we must be fair and impartial. We can't do that if we've already made up our minds before the hearing. Councilmember Smith had made it clear that he opposed the Megamart application. He was not acting as a fair and impartial decision maker. Fortunately, the Megamart application was approved by a small margin. Otherwise, the city could have been accused of a due process violation.
Due process?
Yes, the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to a fair hearing as part of an applicant's due process rights.
During my campaign, I talked with a lot of my neighbors who are also anti-growth. I expressed to them my concerns about protecting our small businesses from giant retailers. Will that prevent me from voting on similar issues?
Well, the question is, if one of those big retailers comes before the council with a land use application, can you be fair? Can you make your decision based only on the evidence you hear and the requirements of our land use code? And can you set aside your previous discussions with your neighbors?
I can't ignore my neighbors. They elected me to represent them, not ignore them.
I'm not saying ignore your neighbors, but when an application is pending, you should not have discussions with anyone outside of the hearing. Our city attorney calls these discussions ex parte contacts. Your decision in a quasi-judicial matter must be based on the evidence presented. So when your neighbors want to speak with you about a pending application, explain to them it's inappropriate for you to talk about the issue outside the hearing. Suggest that they come to the hearing so their concerns can be heard.
Well, last year I called Councilman Miller and asked him to vote no on the pit bull ordinance. Did we engage in an improper ex parte contact?
No, that was a different situation. The council's consideration of a pit bull ordinance was a legislative matter. They were not dealing with the rights of a specific applicant under an existing law. The council was considering a new citywide law, so they were acting as legislators. Lobbying and other ex parte contacts are acceptable in the legislative context. But when you're in a quasi-judicial role, you've got to think and act more like a judge and refrain from engaging in or allowing ex parte contacts.
It makes sense when you put it that way. It's important not to base my vote on my biases or prejudice and only consider the evidence presented at the hearing, like a judge.
Exactly. The other thing to keep in mind is to make sure you have no conflicts of interest when you're voting. If you were appearing before a judge and you learned he had financial or other conflicts of interest, you'd expect him to recuse himself, wouldn't you?
Well, sure.
Well, people who appear before us in a quasi-judicial matter expect the same. To be unbiased decision makers, we must be free from conflicts of interest. If we do have a conflict, we need to declare it, recuse ourselves, and not participate in the hearing or decision.
I think I understand. I think I recall reading in the paper about another incident involving